by the name of Satan's Angels Exposed. And on page 161 and 162, and I believe 163, they have an account of what Pike and Mazzini put together, a plan for 3 world wars to bring in global domination. So I'm going to read a little bit of this, and then we're going to get into the scripture and then take it from there. It says, in 1871, Giuseppe Mazzini issued a remarkable letter in which he graphically outlined plans for 3 world wars. Until recently, this letter was on display in the British Museum Library in London. Pike aided in making this plan known in the United States. It was a blueprint for 3 wars. So when we go to the next page, which is the next chapter, which is chapter 22, the 3 wars planned or coincidence. Albert Pike's 3 supreme councils controlled 23 other subordinate groups throughout the world. The Mazzini-Pike plan was to control the world. How would this be accomplished? Just bear with me 1 second. It says, how would this be accomplished? It says, the plan was relatively simple. It called for, according to the writings of some, communism, fascism, and the struggle for the Mideast, to foment 3 global wars and at last 2 major revolutions. Because pretty much what they want to do, they want to control the whole Middle East, Amalek. The so-called Jews, they want to control the Middle East. So they want to stir up these Arabs, in these Arab nations and these Islamic nations, so that they can have an excuse to fight against them and to so-called demolish and destroy them and bring them under subordination or subjugation underneath Amalek. It says the First World War was to enable communism to destroy the Tsarist government of Russia and replace it with militant atheism. This came to pass, and we now see the results of this overthrow, which they used the Archduke Ferdinand of Austria, I believe it was, and his so-called assassination to as a excuse to get up, in there and take the Tsar out from power, because they wanted the Tsar's money, because he was very rich and he was outside of the grasp of the Rothschilds and the international bankers. So they set up this whole thing through these different revolutions to be able to destroy that part of the world, because they only wanted to keep the crown in England and not have any other crowns. Everybody else would be subjugated. There's a whole history on that. So it goes on to say in the next page, it says the Second War would begin by manipulating the governments of Great Britain and Germany to start a world war. Hitler, however, accomplished this almost single-handed, bringing on World War II. And pretty much what this was Judea wages war against Germany, and that's pretty much what it was. It was a war on the Germans, because the German products were so superior to the America and these Amalekites, that they wanted to destroy the economy of Germany, which they ended up doing, and bringing them into subjugation and into this world war, which was World War II. It says, you know what? I'm just going to jump around just to save time. It says, the Mazzini-Pike blueprint also called for World War III. This would begin by firing up the controversy between Judaism and the Muslim world. And when we read the scriptures, and you read the book of Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, when you read Persia and all of those different allies that are allied to Russia, a lot of those allies to Russia are so-called Islamic countries. When you do, when you look at them and you look at the people that are there and the religion that they worship, it's either Islam or Christianity. So pretty much that's going to be a war against them to stir them up. So this is something that was already in prophecy anyway, but Esau manipulated it in his direction. And this is why you see, situations like 9/11 and the bombing of the World Trade Center back in 1993 and terrorism and this, that, and the other. And now that they accomplished that, now they've pretty much turned on the citizens of America to call them terrorists. So it says the Messini Pike blueprint also called for a World War III. This would begin by firing up the controversy between Judaism and the Muslim world. They hoped that the Zionists and Muslims would destroy each other and bring the rest of the world into a final conflict. This Armageddon would bring complete social, political, and economic chaos. And we're seeing this complete social, just want to get the three that they, social, political, and economic chaos. And we see that happening right now, but this is escalating into a third world war. And this here is going to play into that.
All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakah Quadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Double citations to our Yuakim out there laboring. The house of David, the elect, that's pushing his word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom to you, brothers, and shalom to the elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit, the Rakah Quadash. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to land back off of some of this information here that Elder Apostle Ramla brought out concerning the Messini Pike blueprint for World War III and to control the world. Okay, because what's happening right now, okay, Amalek, the JOO, is fighting for power and position to take over the so-called Middle East region. Okay, and this is why Amalek is stirring up the so-called Arabic nations in the Middle East for the War of Armageddon, as the apostle was explaining. He also mentioned that you have a lot of Islamic countries that are becoming united to Russia pursuant to Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. Okay, and I actually did a lesson going into this article here. This is from allisrael.com. The headline, it reads, it says, Axis of Ezekiel 38, Turkish President Erdogan calls for Russia, Iran, Turkey, Syria alliance against Israel. You see? So all of these things, are coming into fruition right now as we speak because, the apostle, he went through this breakdown, 4 years ago, dealing with 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verses 28 through 63, right? So this is 4 years ago. So how much more now is this prophecy taking effect? All right. And this is why everything surrounds, the so-called Middle East, as Donald Trump said in the video, as we brought out, right? Let's play that again.
Didn't follow his advice. And I think it was a very, the Middle East is rapidly changing. There are prophets that say the world will come to an end in the Middle East. You know that, right? And we have weapons today that are so scary. When you look, I rebuilt them all. And when you look at the weapons we have today, the biggest threat we have in the world today is nuclear weapons. And we have other weapons too that are devastating. But the nuclear weapons, the biggest threat we have in the world today. And that's what I was talking about de-escalation with both.
And that's why concerning prophecy, all right, the so-called Middle East is the focal point. All right. This is why Trump said what he said. Okay. Because just like Trump and the rest of these top devils, if you will, that control the world, all right, that's influencing what's going on across the planet. They're watching the men of the Lord. They're watching the prophets of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. All right. And like the scriptures say, going back to 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, right, it talks about how, the Carmenians and the dragons of Arabia, it says how they will remember themselves and they will conspire and come together. And that's kind of what I wanted to touch on in this lesson here. All right. Because it's all spiritual. Right. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 15. But before we go there, let's start at the top. Okay. Because the words of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai are most definitely faithful and true. 2nd Ezra chapter 15 in verse 1, and it reads, it says, Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people All right. Who's the Lord's people? The Israelites. Okay. Speak thou into the ears of my people the words of prophecy. Okay. The testimony of Yahushua is the spirit of prophecy. Speak thou into the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. You see? Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee, right? We're not worried about a scoffer or a non-believer, man. Okay? Bible prophecy is what's happening right now. Okay? It's the only thing that matters. Verse 4, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. You see? Verse 5, it says, behold, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. All right? So let's get down to the point here. You know, just wanted to do a brief land back because when I was watching the breakdown, it's spiritual of what's happening now. Okay? So this is 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and starting at verse 28. Okay, so this is 2nd Ezra chapter 15 verse 28, and it reads, it says, behold, a horrible vision and the appearance thereof from the east. All right, dealing with the so-called Middle East. Okay, where all the action is taking place right now. Okay, this is why, you know, these topics of you know, these Arabic nations aligning themselves with Russia, you know, as the scriptures say in Ezekiel 38, that that Gog and Magog would be a guard unto them. Let me get that real quick. All right. Because that's where that's what's going to bring forth the war of Armageddon, World War III. Okay. So this is a horrible vision, as it said in verse 28, in a horrible vision and appears thereof from the east. Right. But it's just making that point. Ezekiel 38, getting straight to the point. Ezekiel 38 in verse, we'll start at verse 4. Ezekiel 38 verse 4, it says, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and will bring thee forth, and all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company, with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. All right. So, you know, Russia has been raised up as a force. All right, which is going to bring down, which the Lord is going to use them to bring down the West, to bring down Babylon. All right, he raised up the Medes, the scriptures also say. Right, Ezekiel 38 and 5, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer and all his bands, in the house of Tagamrah of the north quarters and all of his bands, and many people with thee. All right, so these nations, as the elder was saying, the elder apostle was saying, you know, these nations, the majority of these nations, as we see, that are making these alliances with Russia are so-called Islamic countries. All right. These Arabic nations. All right. As we're going to get into the Carmenians and the dragons of Arabia. Right. But it says Ezekiel 38 and 5, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer and all of his bands, the house of Tagamrah of the north quarters and all of his bands, and many people with thee. All right. There's even, you know, North Korean soldiers that have been sent over there to Russia. Okay. Because these nations are building that great alliance against the West. This is what's going on right now. All right. Verse 7, Ezekiel 38 verse 7, it says, be thou prepared and prepare thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. You see that? So Gog, Magog, the Russians, if you will, all right, they're going to be a guard unto these nations that have aligned themselves with them. You see? But going back, right? So 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 28 again, it says, behold, a horrible vision and the appearance thereof from the east. All right, dealing with the Middle East. Okay, as was mentioned, Zephaniah. Okay, you got Zephaniah chapter 3. Right? How the Lord said that his determination was to gather the nations, right? Zephaniah 3 and 8, it says, therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, until the day that I rise up to the prey, for my determination is to gather the nations. All right. Where are they being gathered? Over there in the Middle East, so-called. All right. My determination is to gather the nations that I may assemble the kingdoms to pour upon them my indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. See that? So this is what this part of the world, as Donald Trump made mention of, this where it's all going to go down at. Okay? They know what's getting ready to happen. They're watching the men of the Lord. Okay? They're watching the prophecies. Anyway, back in 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 29, it says, when the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, right? The dragons of Arabia, representing the, Ishmael, those Ishmaelite nations. Okay? It says, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them should be carried as the wind upon the earth, and that it says that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. All right. And that's what's going on now. Okay. See, Amalek is being used to raise up, which was part of the Masani, what was it called? The Masani Pike blueprint for World War III. Amalek is raising up. He's stirring up the anger of these Arabic nations right now. Right. It says also the Carmenians. All right. Going back to the Persians, the Iranians. Right. Also the Carmenians raging in wrath shall go forth as wild boars of the wood. And with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians, right? Which you can tie this to Babylon. All right. These nations are pretty much joining themselves together to take on the Israeli and the America hegemony. And this is why you have something called, which I thought this is spiritual. This is why you have something called the axis of resistance. Now check this out, right? And we'll go back to the scripture.
Who is the axis of resistance, and why should you care? I'm sure you've heard that phrase a lot lately.
The axis of resistance.
They call themselves the axis of resistance.
The axis of the resistance.
Axis of resistance.
Axis of resistance.
But what exactly is the axis of resistance, and why does it matter? The axis of resistance is a coalition of armed groups across West Asia, united by one shared goal: to push back against US and Israeli hegemony in the region. This alliance includes heavyweights like Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, Yemen's Ansar Allah, also known as the Houthis, and groups in Iraq and Syria. Recently, the spotlight has been on this alliance, especially during Israel's brutal genocide on Gaza. In the past few weeks, tensions have reached a boiling point. Israel assassinated Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Iran and Hezbollah commander Fouad Shakur in Lebanon. Since October 7th, different members of the Axis have attacked a number of US bases in the region, and Ansar Allah even shut down shipping across the entire Red Sea. These actions are a direct response to Israeli provocations and the ongoing assault on Gaza. So what are they fighting for? Let's break it down. The axis of resistance isn't about sectarian lines. Both Shia and Sunni groups are united under this banner. What unites them is a shared resistance to US and Israeli dominance in the region. Let's take a closer look at two key players, Hezbollah and Ansar Allah in Yemen. Hezbollah, known as the Party of God, is a Lebanese Shiite group that formed in the 1980s to resist Israel's occupation of southern Lebanon. They've been a thorn in Israel's side ever since, driving Israeli forces out in 2000 and scoring a major victory during the 2006 war. Now, Hezbollah is back on the front lines, launching nearly daily attacks that have thousands of Israelis fleeing from the north. Ansar Allah, commonly called the Houthis, are an armed group that controls some of Yemen, including the capital, Sana'a. They emerged in the 1990s but made headlines in 2014 when they overthrew Yemen's Saudi-backed government. Despite facing a brutal war led by Saudi Arabia and backed by the US, they have stood their ground, resisting one of the most powerful military coalitions in the world. So, why does all this matter? Iran, Hezbollah, and Ansar Allah don't want a regional war, but Israel seems determined to keep pushing them into one. And the US? Well, they're letting it happen by supporting and arming Israel's genocide in Gaza.
Boom, you see, and this is heavy because here it is. Elder Apostle Ramla was bringing this out 4 years ago, and look what's happening now. This video is from a month ago. All right. So you have what they call the axis of resistance, which is pretty much, I want to say, about 5 of these Ishmaelite Iranian countries. You got Iraq, you have Syria, you have Iran, Yemen, all right, Hezbollah, Palestine. It's a few of them, all right. But these are those nations, all right, the dragons of Arabia, the Carmenians, that are uniting to fight against the Israeli and U.S. hegemony. All right. So I thought that was pretty heavy. All right. As he was going through the breakdown. But let's go back and read again. All right. It says, 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 29, it says, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia should come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them should be carried as the wind upon the earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmenians raging in wrath shall go forth as wild boars as of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them. You see? And shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians, right? Because these Arabic nations, if you will, these Ishmaelite nations are joining together to come against America and Israel, right? It says the point, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they turn themselves, conspire together in great power to persecute them. Who are they trying to persecute? All right, America and in the U.S. All right, this is why they formed the axis of resistance. Okay, so this is in a way, this is kind of like, this prophecy, coming into fruition here, man. All right, it said that it said in the dragons having the upper hand, remembering their nature, right? Because what is Ishmael was known as a wild man, right? Let me get that too. This is Genesis 16 and 11. It says, an angel of the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai heard thy affliction. It says, and he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and against every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. So it said that Ishmael would be a wild man, right? What do we read? It said, and the dragons having the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they should turn themselves, conspire together in great power to persecute them. You see? So pretty much, Ishmael is remembering his nature. I was looking it up too. Some commentary in Genesis 16 and 12. Right? Eliot's commentary for English readers, it says, he will be a wild man. He will be a wild ass man. The wild ass of the Arabian deserts, right, is a very noble creature and is one of the animals selected in the book of Job, especially exemplifying the greatness of the Most High, right? He's remembering his wild nature. What else? It says he will be a wild man, a wild ass of a man. So the word is rude and bold and fearing no man, untamed, untractable, living at large, and impatient of service and restraint. It says his hand will be against every man. That is his sin, and every man's hand against him. That is his punishment. Those that have turbulent spirits, have commonly troublesome lives, that are provoking and injurious to others, must expect to be repaid in their own coin. All right. So the point is, the Lord is raising up these Arabic nations to come against the Edomite. All right. The Edomite hegemony, the Israeli and U.S. hegemony. Right. Jeremiah 49 and 20. And it reads, it says, therefore hear the counsel of the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shah, that he have taken against Edom, and his purposes that he have proposed against the inhabitants of Teman. All right, those you small hats. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them, right? Because America and Israel are going to be decimated. All right, and the Lord is using Amalek to draw America into this final world's war. This is why, once again, the point is why they have the axis of resistance. All right, these five or six Arabic nations that are coming against this beast. which I found was spiritual. This is why I wanted to kind of just add that in, right? But going back, 2nd Ezra 15 and 31, it says, and shall the dragons have the upper hand? All right, speaking about the Ishmaelite nations, these Arabic nations, and the dragons shall have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them. That's the axis of resistance is going on. All right, it says, then these shall be troubled, bled, and keep silence through their power, and shall flee. Right? It says, verse 33, in the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them and consume some of them, and in their hosts shall be fear and dread and strife among kings. All right, because as Apostle was going into in this breakdown, all right, dealing with these Ishmaelites, these sleeper cells that are scattered throughout America that are going to be used to bring forth, judgment here. Pretty much, right? Verse 34, behold, the clouds from the east and from the north and unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. All right, dealing with the destruction from the nuclear missiles. Okay? It says, verse 35, they shall smite one another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, even their own star, and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly. All right, because the Lord is going to bring complete destructions. It's going to be a many people that are going to perish. Right. Let's add on to that. Isaiah 34. All right, the Lord said He was going to melt the mountains with their blood. Right. Isaiah 34 and 1. It says, "Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, is upon all nations, and His fury upon all their armies. He have utterly destroyed them. He have delivered them to the slaughter." All right, it's going to be much death during World War III. Verse 3, "And their slain also should be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood." How is the Lord going to melt these mountains? Okay, because these mountains represent major governments. So He's going to melt them via nuclear war with the missiles, man. You see, it says, "All of the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all the hosts shall fall down as a leaf falleth from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree." All right, dealing with the nuclear fallout. Verse 5, Isaiah 34 and 5, "For my sword shall be bathed in heaven." That's the nuclear missiles. "Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea," which is Greek for Esau, Edom, "and upon the people of my curse to judgment. For the sword of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of kidneys of rams," which is symbolic of the people. Okay, they're going to be a sacrifice upon the altar, because America is one big altar, which the Lord is going to set ablaze. "For the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, have a sacrifice in Basra," right? "And a great slaughter in the land of Idumea," which you can apply that to America, Babylon. All right. Reading a little bit more, 2nd Ezra chapter 15, in verse 36, it says, in dung of men unto the camel's hole." It says, verse 37, "And there should be great fearfulness and trembling upon the earth, and they that see the wrath shall be afraid, and trembling shall come upon them." All right, because it's going to be total disaster, man, all across the planet. Okay, World War III, nuclear missiles, Yahweh Shai and the angels coming back. You see, it says, verse 38, "And there should come great storms from the south and from the north and from another part from the west." See, it says, verse 39, right? Because all the world armies are going to be destroyed, as we read in Isaiah 34. Verse 39, it says, "And strong winds shall arise from the east and shall open it. The cloud which He have raised up in wrath, the stars stirred to cause fear towards the east and west wind, shall be destroyed," man. So the whole earth is going to be, is going to be in a state of chaos. All right. The war of Armageddon, different battles around a planet Earth at that time. All right. So the whole world is going to be in a state of destruction, basically. right? But that's pretty much the point, man. I just wanted to add in there about the Carmenians and the dragons of Arabia, how they're uniting and joining themselves together, and they have the axis of resistance, all right, to challenge Israeli and U.S. hegemony. This is all spiritual. So there was one more point that I wanted to make before we wrap it up, just to, solidify this lesson here. So this is from News Target. The header, it reads, it says, there is one weapon that the Zionists possess that is more powerful than the media, right? Now check this out. And this is everything we just said here. It says there is one weapon that the Zionists possess that is more powerful than the media: the blackmail data, the bribery of central banking. With BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, they control a death switch for every economy, right? Jumping down, it says they have the power to destroy the markets of individual nations or globally. They have accumulated enough shares in every major listed company that they can create the selling pressure to collapse entire markets. All right. It is an economic nuclear bomb that can be triggered at any time against any nation. That's why, hey, we're in a time of this thing crashing at any given moment. All right. But the point here, it says no leader in the West can afford to say no to Israel. When you understand this, you realize why Israel has the power to commit a genocide with impunity for the world to see. It will not end with Gaza or the West Bank. The Zionists want to take over the Middle East and create a greater Israel. The only obstacle that is outside of their control is Iran. You see that? So it all makes sense. Okay, it's all happening here, man, as we see it. All right. But that's pretty much the point, man. I pray that I wasn't all over the place, but I just wanted to land back. The Lord has raised up those dragons of Arabia, the Carmenians, and they're uniting against the hegemony of Amalek in America. You see? So I pray that this quick lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Shalom.